Uh, Once again, my name is Dr. Jagdish Khatri, working as assistant professor. This is your second lecture, which is given by me to you peoples. So first of all of you welcome again. And my second lecture uh, in final year MBBS. So good afternoon. So today we will discuss about the uh, clinical clues or signs in cardiovascular system. So there is a lot of the science before going to going to examinations. So in the generally, that is the number one is the cyanosis. The cyanosis word, which is the Greek word, which means the kainos. Kainos means believe and osis. There are two words joined together, that is kainos and the osis. The kainos Greek word means the belief and osis means the condition. It is both sign and symptoms. So always remember this is the sign and symptoms. As we know that the signs means the doctor, yeah, observer should observe, while the symptoms, which is also said by patients. So here today we define the cyanosis. It is the bluish discoloration of the skin and mucous membrane, resulting from an increased quantity of the reduced hemoglobin that is greater than 4 grams per deciliter, or abnormal hemoglobin pigment in blood perfusing these areas that is greater than 0.5 grams per deciliter of the methemoglobins. There are three types of the cyanosis. One is the peripheral cyanosis, central cyanosis, as well as the differential cyanosis. But in your books, I think so that written in only two. That is the peripheral as well as central. But in our books, that is differential cyanosis is also one of the type of the cyanosis. So here, first we discuss the peripheral cyanosis. The peripheral cyanosis occurs and just we observe in the nose tip, air lobules, nails, that is are the exposed area of the uh, face. It is usually indicated the stasis of the blood flow in the periphery with a normal oxygen saturations. So the, one cause is the stresses of the blood flow in the periphery with a normal oxygen saturation. Other one is cause is the reduced hemoglobin in the capillaries of the skin exceed greater than 4 grams per deciliter. So here etiology mostly secondary to the cutaneous vasoconstrictions due to low cardiac output state like a congestive heart failure. And other one is the exposure to cold. So exposure to cold is also one of the cause of the peripheral cyanosis, in which there is a vasoconstriction occurs, and due to vasoconstrictions, there is a stresses of the blood, and there is a blue discolorations of the periphery. Raynaud's phenomena, one of the cause, there is a tendency of the peripheral arteries causes vasoconstriction or peripheral vessels of vasoconstrictions, especially occurs in the females. And number four cause is the peripheral vascular disease. Peripheral vascular disease is like a microvascular level or at the macrovascular levels. So atherosclerotic disease may cause the this peripheral cyanosis. And the central cyanosis occurs in the lips and the tongue. And also it becomes apparent at the capillary concentration of the greater than 4 grams per deciliter of the reduced hemoglobin or arterial oxygen saturation less than 80%. So always remember the central cyanosis, which occurs when there is a capillary concentration of the reduced hemoglobin is greater than 4 grams per deciliter, or either the arterial oxygen saturations less than 80%. And there are the most common causes in our cardiac disease is the congenital heart disease, like a tetralogy of the Fallot, like a transposition of the great arteries. Congenital heart is one of the type of that. Yeah, ductus arteriosus, or the distinct anomalies, or the single ventricles. Um, these are the main congenital heart defects or heart diseases that having in a central cyanosis. Patient may present with the central cyanosis and the respiratory failures. Uh, in the central cyanosis, the oxygen saturation in normal arterial blood is 95%, that is the 13.33 grams of the 14 gram of deciliters, and 0.7 gram per deciliter is the reduced hemoglobin. So always remember, out of 14 gram of deciliters per deciliters of the uh, hemoglobin, in which only the 0.7 grams per deciliter is the reduced hemoglobin. At the normal oxygen, arterial oxygen saturation is about the 95%. So oxygen saturation in normal mixed venous blood is 70%. That is 9.8 grams of the 14 gram per deciliter is oxyhemoglobin, and the 4.2 grams per deciliter is reduced hemoglobin. So here that is the greater than 4 grams reduced hemoglobin in the blood, or the reduced hemoglobin, that is the oxygen saturation mixed venous blood is 70%. So it is less than 80% oxygen saturation is there, and the reduced hemoglobin is more than, that is 4.2, that's more than 4 grams. So our veins, as you look carefully or just observe the veins, they look like blue colors. But the arteries not never ever shows that the blue color. Why the venous blood? Because the venous blood contain reduced hemoglobin. It is the 4.2 grams per deciliter. The amount of the reduced hemoglobin capillary is assumed to be the mean of the reduced hemoglobin arterial and mixed venous blood is 0.7 plus 4.2 divided by 2 is equal to 2.45 grams per deciliter. So this is the central cyanosis. What is the differential cyanosis? It is the new for you peoples, but in a post-graduation level, this is the differential cyanosis is the one of the cause, one of the type of the cyanosis there. The cyanosis that confines, what is the differential cyanosis? Differential is the cyanosis that confine to the lower limbs, which little or no cyanosis of the arms or the face, typically seen in patent ductus arteriosus with the right to left shunts, or patent ductus arteriosus with the Eisenmenger syndromes. So what happens at the differential cyanosis when you compare your hand nails, fingers of the hand to the toes. So in the toes there is a cyanosis is there, but there is a escape of the cyanosis of the nails of the hand. So this occurs in condition, especially in a right to left shunt, or the PDA or patent ductus arteriosus with Eisenmenger syndrome. Eisenmenger syndrome means, or the right to left shunt, it means initially what happens, there is a left to right shunt occurs. But as they age above the 40, if you're not correct, or it depends upon the size of the patent ductus arteriosus. If the size of the patent ductus arteriosus is untreated, then surgically they are not treated, and in adult life above the 40 years of age, that the pressures on the right sided of the heart becomes increasing. As so much increase as compared to, they are equal or more than that of the left sided heart pressures. Because of the increased pulmonary hypertension, the pulmonary artery pressure normally is the 30 millimeter of mercury. When it will increase 120 or more than 120 and also increase the RV pressure, so that is why the right to left shunting occurs, and there is a continuous murmur becomes disappears due to the right to left shunting, and in other words what we call that is PDA with Eisenmenger syndrome. So there are three types of the cyanosis. I'll remember, that is the one of the peripheral cyanosis, central cyanosis, and the differential cyanosis. Now, again, here you see that the lips of this baby, you look at the pic of that baby boy. So you look that there's the lips as well as the tongue also becomes cyanosed. Again, on the corner, on the left corner, there is a blue discoloration of the tongue as well as of the lips. And this is the central cyanosis. Again, on the left lower portion, that is the fingertips, you see that is the peripheral cyanosis, that is cyanosed. And there is a nail on the right lower quadrant pic is showing that this is the blue discoloration That is also the peripheral cyanosis, type of the peripheral cyanosis. So now we come on the clubbing. Clubbing is nothing but it is an increase in the soft tissues of the distal parts of the fingers or the toes. The mechanism underlying is unknown, but the current theory is that the platelet-derived growth factors released from the megakaryocytes and platelet emboli in the nail beds causing the fibrovascular proliferations. So, one of the reasons, but it is unknown still. So, this is the hypothesis. Uh, now, what do you think that is the clubbing? Clubbing is nothing but it is the increase of the soft tissues of the distal part of the fingers and the toes. There are the four grades of the that clubbing. Grade 1, there is an obliteration of the normal angle between the base of the nail and the proximal skin. And grade 2, that is fluctuations are present at the nail base. And the curvature, grade 3, that is curvature of the nail is increased. And grade 4, that is drumstick-like appearance. So I will here show you that drumstick-like appearance in this in other fingers. This is the again the pics you see that on the left upper quadrant, that is pic showing uh, the grade 4 type of the clubbing here. So there are three grades of the clubbing. So the causes of the clubbing in CVS is the cyanotic heart disease. As we already told you, there is cyanotic heart disease, that is the tetralogy of the Fallot, what we call again the top. TGA means transposition of the great arteries, and truncus arteriosus. Truncus arteriosus means the pulmonary artery which arise from the not from the right ventricle. Normally they arise from the right ventricle, but in the truncus arteriosus, this pulmonary artery arise from the aorta. And the Ebstein anomaly. Ebstein anomaly is nothing but what we can call about that. And the right ventricle becomes atellizations, I mean atelization of the right ventricle, and lower side, apical side septal leaflets becomes attached. And the annulus also large, and the set physiological annulus is a low side. So that is called the Ebstein anomalies. So and the infective endocarditis, although one of the cardiovascular cause in the clubbing. So infective endocarditis we will discuss in last lectures. Today we are only introductory classes. So that is why here I don't want to discuss the infective endocarditis. And the respiratory causes bronchiectasis, lung abscess, empyema, lung, CA lung, it is carcinoma of the lung, and fibrosing alveolitis. In the GIT, malabsorption syndrome, inflammatory bowel syndromes, and the cirrhosis of the liver, one of the cause of the clubbing. And the other cause of the clubbing is the familial pseudo-clubbing, as in a hyperparathyroidism, where there is a resorption of the terminal flanks. So here again, I want to show that is the grade 4 drumstick type of the clubbing at the left upper quadrant peak. So you look at only the nail, there the curvature is just like a drumstick-like appearance. And so here, again, comes again the splinter hemorrhage. So in the splinter hemorrhage is one of the sign of the infective endocarditis, in which in the nails, fresh red linear hemorrhage, especially at the base of the nails, occurs in the infective endocarditis. So here I want to show that what splinter hemorrhage. So splinter hemorrhage is again, this is the picture of the splinter hemorrhage. Just you look at the right upper quadrant picture that show in the center, just like in a fresh red linear type of the hemorrhage. So again, in the lower side of that pic, so a big picture that also showing the linear splinter, fresh red linear hemorrhage, especially at the base of the nail. And this is the one of the sign of the infective endocarditis. So again, comes again the ocular node. It is also the one of the sign of the infective endocarditis, and the ocular node is the painful tender reddish brown raised area 3 to 5 mm in diameter on the palms and soles that don't blanch with the pressure. So this is the painful tender reddish browns, raised areas about the 3 to 5 mm. In the Genvalians is nothing but is a painless circular or oval pink macules about 5 mm in diameter on the palms and the soles that do not blanch with the pressure. So here I want to show you in the left upper quadrant small pictures. Just you see at the thumb's palmar surface of the thumb, that is the ossular node. What we call, this is the ossular node. And Genvalian, here the Genvalian is the what we call, that is the penless area. This Genvalian is the penless circular or oval pink macules about 5 mm in the diameter on the palms and the soles. So here you see in between the thenar and hypothénar, you see my arrow, and once again these in the center of that picture, in the upper side of that pic in a slide, you should see here again these are the ossular nodes. Now we come on the levidoreticularis. The levidoreticularis, nothing but these are the fishnet mottling of the lower trunk buttocks and the extremities. Causes cholesterol embolizing form of the abdominal aortic aneurysm and bacterial endocarditis. So here I want to show you that this is the levidoreticularis. This is the levidoreticularis. Is nothing but this is the fish net modeling of the lower trunk, buttocks, and the extremities. These are the fish modeling, and cause is the embolization of the cholesterol emboli. So again, we come again, the facial flushing follow the syncope. Reactive hyperemia that follow the temporary cessation of the circulation and occurs in the cardiac arrest or strokes other syndromes. Stroke-Odom syndrome, the reactive hyperemia that follow the temporary cessation of the circulations or occurs in the cardiac arrest or the Stokes-Odom syndrome. Stokes-Odom syndrome, this is also the one of the sign of the syncope. Here, cold hand and the feet occurs in the mostly anxiety, peripheral artery disease, low output state. Low output state, just like in a patient who suffer from the congestive heart failure, or the patient having in a severe aortic stenosis, or the obstructive type of the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So in this low output state, the patient may develop the cold hands and the feet, and even the cardiogenic shock. Distribution of the perspiration. Perspirations, or other words we call it as a sweating, mostly in acute pulmonary edema. Acute pulmonary edema due to underlying cardiogenic cause. So stage 1, in the stage 1, mild limited to perspiration limited to the forehead, while the perspiration or the sweating, which is stage 2, that is called moderate state, which occurs at the forehead, as well as the perspiration or the sweating occurs at the chest. The stage 3, that is the severe, or that occurs in the forehead perspiration, as well as on the chest, as well as on the abdomen. In a stage 2, that is called the severe stage of that perspirations that occurs in the acute pulmonary edema. And the congenital phases now, in the Williams syndromes, that is one of the syndrome in which broad high forehead, puffy cheeks, low set ears, wide pouting mouth, hypoplastic mandible, and dental abnormalities is there. And while in the Down syndrome, that is also called the flattened occiput, disproportionately small head, epicanthus fold, giving the impressions of the slanted eyes, mouth held open by the large protected tongue and the underdeveloped nasal bones. So here I want to show you that First, this is the slide that shows you the picture of the Down syndrome's baby. In the Down syndrome, as you know that this is the filleted occiput. In this patient, having in a filleted occiput and disproportionately small head. So that is the small head disproportionately. And epicathal folds giving the impression of the slanted eyes. Epicathal folds they shows slanted eye. And the protect tongue, that is the, you see here, that is the open mouth with the protect tongue in all these three pics of the babies who suffer from the Williams syndrome. So again, this is the Williams syndrome's faces, that is called Ilfin faces. And you here see that the broad high forehead, that is the broad high forehead is there. And puffy cheeks, that is the puffy cheek is there. And low set ears. The ear is set down here and giving the impression of the hypoplastic mandible. Here, the jaw, you see that the hypoplastic chin is low set. And the dental abnormalities. Here, you see, look at the upper picture of the baby. That is also, you see the abnormality of the teeth. So this is the William Ilfin faces occurs in the Williams syndrome, patient who suffer from the Williams syndrome. So again, comes again the earlobe. Earlobe crease, it is the oblique creases in the ear lobes. Patient over the 50 year of age with this sign suggests of the three vessel coronary artery diseases. That is sensitivity is the 60%. And other one is the malar fallish. Malar fallish is the nothing but it is the cyanotic cheeks with the ciliate telangiectasia. Causes is the mitral stenosis, pulmonary artery hypertension, high venous pressures, outdoor lives, myxedema, atrial septal defect, Cushingite faces, Cauchinite syndromes, and systemic lupus erythematosus. And third one is the Roth spots. Roth spots commonly which occurs in infective endocarditis. So here that is the minor criteria for the infective endocarditis. The Roth spot is nothing but it is the oval-shaped hemorrhage near optic disc with the white cotton wool spotted, that is lymphocytes in the nerve layer in the center. So here I want to show you that the Roth spot in a pic before going to here. You see at the in this slide fundoscopic picture. On the left side, this is the optic disc, and just above the optic disc in the center, you see the arrow, these whitish arrows showing the hemorrhage. So this is the cotton wool spots or the whitish spots, as well as in the lower side also fundoscopic pictures you see here the hemorrhages. These are nothing, hemorrhages nothing but it is the Roth spots which occurs mostly in the infective endocarditis. But a lot of the other causes is there. But here what we discussed only the one cause of that is infective endocarditis. And again you see at the picture on the left upper side of the females that showing the malar fallish at the nose as well as the maxillary bone, above the maxillary bone. Cheeks, you see that is the malar fallish. Again, in other malar fallish is there. It most commonly occurs in the mitral stenosis as well as the pulmonary artery hypertension. So again, we comes on the corneal arcus. The corneal arcus is nothing but it is the band that begins inferiorly and inside the limbus. So you know that the limbus is the junctions between the sclera and the cornea, allowing the rim of iris pigment to be seen between the arcus and the sclera. The causes is the hypercholesterolemia or the coronary artery diseases there. The exophthalmos, again, advanced congestive heart failure with high venous pressure and weight loss, probably due to the lid retractions caused by the strong sympathetic tone accompanied by the low cardiac output, which may occur into the severe TR as well as causing the systolic pulsations of the eyes. And xanthomas is nothing but is the small yellowish orange papules or the nodules associated with the hyperlipidemia in a premature atherosclerotic disease. So here I want to show you that this is the xanthomas In this picture, you see around the eye. So around the eyes, you see xanthomas. Again, here, uh, and as well as xanthomas that and then Achilles tendon below the, that is you see here at the side of the ankle. And again, in the lower two pictures of the eyes, you should carefully see that the cornus, corneal arcus is the corneal arcus, nothing but it is the thick band that begins inferiorly here. You see that the inferiorly and inside the limbus. So this is the inside the limbus. So this is a corneal arcus that shows means that patient may suffer from the hypercholesterolemia. And the xanthomas also the one of the sign of the hypercholesterolemia. Now again comes on the signs of the hands and the wrist. Sign suggests the Marfan syndromes. As we know that the Marfan syndrome is nothing but it is the genetically defect in a fibrillin 1 gene. So in the fibrillin 1 gene, there is a defective, that is the fibrillin 1 is the protein that having in a develop our body connective tissues. So this is develop the connective tissue disorders. So connective tissue disorders in which the Marfan syndrome, patient look like a tall, big, slanted, and high arch plate, pectus excavator, means skeletal abnormality is also there, as well as in the heart point of view, the patient having in a AR, that is called aortic regurgitations, aortic root dilatations, and the cardiomyopathy means the patient may suffer from the heart failure due to the these Marfan syndrome conditions. So in the skeletal deformities, there is a laxative joints, means the hypermobility of the joints. So here we see that the spider fingers and the arpidicality, cylinder or long fingers you see, and Sternberg signs are the thumb sign. Sternberg sign or thumb sign is nothing but it is the positions of the thumb below the all four fingers. That means the patient having in a thumbs digits are too much long phalanx that comes across outside the your hand. And as well as the wrist sign, that is hypermobility of the sign, that is hyperflexion of that wrist. Normally that hyperflexion is not occurs in a normal person, but it can occur with the Marfan syndrome due to the hypermobility of the joint. The span of the outer stretch arm exceeds the height by at least 5 centimeters. So again, we comes on the cardiac physical diagnosis. The cardiac physical diagnosis depends upon the complete cardiovascular examination, consists of the 5 finger method. The history, physical examinations, ECG, chest X-ray, and simple laboratory tests. So history, the points I already discussed about the symptomology in my first lecture. And the physical examinations, we are already now we are discussing the physical examinations, and the ECG and X-ray chest will be discussed in the next lectures, and the simple laboratory tests. So here we discuss the general examinations guidelines. What are the guidelines? The patient should be having their shirt off or wear on examination gown. Females 9 years old or older should wear a gown with the opening in the front. Should be calm and quiet environment. The stress equipment should be your own, should have in a separate bell and diaphragm. Bell allows all sounds, diaphragm lets in the middle and high frequency sounds, attenuate the low pitched sounds. The environment should be quiet, patient, family, clinic attendants, examination, room and surroundings area should be quiet and should be well lighted. So now again, we comes again the cardiovascular examination. So here we only discussed about the theory, but in our front of you, because there's no patient is there. So here discussed only theoretically, but practically whenever possible, your comes at the wards. So we will discuss in detail on the patients. So here theoretically in the general inspection, just look at the patient and look at the patient's color or the complexions. In the complexion, what you see that In the skin color or the complexion, that is pallor. Central cyanosis, whether patient suffer from the central cyanosis or nothing, patient become anemic, or the peripheral cyanosis is there, or the jaundice is there, or plethora. Plethora means the swelling of the body swelling. The malar finish, we already discussed about that. Then we comes on the build. Build, what type of the build of the patients? You look at the patient and with either this is the thin and lean, tough, or the normal height and build, or becomes obese or cachexia. Cachexia means the patient having a vestige of the muscle, especially in patients who suffer from the any type of the carcinomas or the cancerous diseases. And the morphinite look uh, tall, thin. Dysmorphic pigs, we are already discussed about the infant faces. Most commonly in the infant faces, what you expect in these patients, that is supravalvular AS, especially occurs in the Williams syndromes. In the Down syndromes, underlying cardiovascular abnormality is the endocardial Cushing defects. Endocardial Cushing defects, nothing but in which what happens, there's a defect of the endocardial tube in a infantile life. So, in this patient may present with the signs of the sign or symptoms of the heart failure. So, single AV valve, there is a no in the complete endocardial Cushing defect. There is a single atrioventricular valve absent and replaced by the mitral and tricuspid valve. And patient having in a large ASD as well as large VSD, means ventricular septal defect as well as the atrioventricular atrial defects. The atrial defects, primary atrial defect or type 1 atrial defect may present with the patient in a complete endocardial Cushing defect or AV canal defects. So here now we again start from the patient's hands and the face. When you shake the head, you make the feel the temperature of the patient. Either the patient having a temperature, nothing, there's a sweating. When you handshake with the patient, so you make that whether patient having the temperature raised or the sweating in their heads and the digital culping. So digital culping also started from the hands. So you can observe the digital culping and the cutaneous feature of the infected gonadals, like a petechiae, like a spectral hemorrhage, we already discussed on, like the ocellular nodes and the genvalians. And then we see the signs of the hypercholesterolemia, like the xanthometas and xanthemas. These are the xanthometas occurs in the tendon, xanthometas, palmar xanthometas, while the xanthemas which around the eyes. And the teeth abnormalities we can see in the oral cavity teeth. And then go and look at the eyes. In the eyes, you see the corneal orcus. If the patient having a corneal ulcer, you can suspect the patient may have suffered from the hypercholesterolemia. In the hypertensive retinopathy, you can see the do the fundoscope, and there are the 4 stages of that hypertensive retinopathy. That is AV nipping, copper wiring, silver wiring, and optic disc coupling. And diabetic retinopathy, you can see the cotton wool appearance of the hemorrhage in the background of the retina. And the rote spots also the one of the cotton wools over the just in the center of that retina. So again, you can examine the artery system. So you can examine the artery system by the radial artery. In the radial artery, you can start the pulses from the radial artery. So you can check the rate. Rate can be checked by the fingers. Your pulp of the fingers you put here and to count the rate for the 60 seconds. So nowadays what we do that we check the heart rate by 15 seconds, and then we multiply by the 4 of that. So rate, then rhythm, whether the rhythm is regular or irregular. Irregular is here. Then you check the volume, and the volume should be checked especially in the larger diameter size artery. like a carotid artery, you should check the volume, either low volume or the high volume. In the low volume, mostly occurs in a uh, low cardiac output state, like aortic stenosis, like a pulmonary valve stenosis, like a in a patient who suffer from the cardiogenic shock. The high volume pulse, which occurs in a patients who have suffered from the uh, regurgitant glands, like a AR, like a AMR, like a volume overload condition producing, like a ventricular septal defect, atrial septal defect, or the Pectus ductus arteriosus. Then the character of the character pulses alternate. Pulses alternate is nothing but it is the feeling of the pulse one weak and one is the normal. Most commonly, that occurs in the severe left ventricular failure patients. And the pulsus paradoxus is nothing. We check the pulsus paradoxus, especially in a patient who has suffered from the bronchial asthma, or either from the constrictive pericarditis, or suffer from the cardiac tympanoid. So how we check the pulsus paradoxus? Pulsus paradoxus is a check by checking the blood pressure. So normally what happens during the inspiration, the drop of the systolic blood pressure is less than 10. If this drop is more than 10 millimeter of mercury, so what we call that is called pulsus paradoxus. There are a lot of the causes of pulsus paradoxus, but here you should concern about that. The commonest cause in a cardiovascular system is the cardiac tamponade, and as well as constrictive pericarditis, RV failure, even the patient who have suffered from massive pulmonary embolism, and a lot of the physiological causes is there, like a pregnancy and the obesity also one of the cause of the pulsus paradoxus is there. So again, come on the pulsus bisference. Pulsus bisference is nothing but the two peaks of the in a same heart, one heartbeat. You can feel the pulse in one piece, two peaks. So two peaks in a one pulse is called pulsus bisference, and this pulsus bisference occurs in a patient having in a both aortic stenosis plus aortic regurgitation is there. Means AR and AS combined lesion in a same patients. So they may develop the pulsus bisference. So collapsing pulse is nothing but it is the rapid of a stroke, and 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 then down a stroke. So up a stroke and down a strokes, this collapsing pulse is that most commonly that collapsing pulse occurs in a patient who suffer from the severe aortic regurgitations. So severe aortic regurgitation in which the, also the collapsing pulse occurs, but it may occur in pulses in a high volume conditions, like a very like a anemia, like a AV shunts, peripheral venous shunts is there, then the collapsing pulse may occur. Uh, and then the slow rising pulse. Slow rising pulse is nothing if it occurs slowly and gradually at peaked for the time being and then down. So this slow rising pulse which occurs in a severe aortic stenosis. So when there is a decrease any conditions that cause decreased cardiac output, especially in the aortic stenosis, and there is a jerky pulse. This jerky pulse occurs in a condition like a obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So again, the atrial system, in the arterial system, you should check the peripheral pulses. How you check the peripheral pulses? You should check the peripheral pulses by symmetry. First of all, you check the symmetry. Symmetry means if you check the right-sided radial pulse, you should check at a time on the other hand, left radial, then both brachial, then axillary, and then not both carotid pulse. Always remember, if you check the carotid pulse right and left simultaneously, patient may develop the syncope or patient may develop the cerebral anoxia. So you should avoid symmetry at the carotid level. So again, the femoral pulse, you should check the volume of that and the radiofemoral delay. So you should check the radiofemoral or radioradial delay. Then go for the popliteal and then dorsifemoralis and then postiotibialis muscle. Tibialis. So you should check all these characters, especially the symmetry in the peripheral pulses. So arterial system, in the arterial system, you should check the blood pressure. How you should check in both arms. For example, in the left arm, that is the 140 by 90 blood pressure. In the right arm, the blood pressure is the 120 by 80. So which one you should be note? So you should not always remember the pressures which is in a high, either in a left side or in the right arm. So you should check the blood pressure in a supine upper and lower limbs, as well as in the standing position to check the postural drop. And as well as during checking the blood pressure, you should check the pulsus paradoxus. As we already discussed about that, the pulsus paradoxus is nothing but it is a more than during inspiration, the systolic blood pressure is dropped more than 10 mm is called the pulsus paradoxus. So now again we comes on the jugular venous pressure. So jugular venous pressure, in which you see here, there are three waves: A wave, C wave, and the V wave, X descent, Y descent. So there are two descents and three waves is there. As you see in the pictures, there the A wave in the late of the diastole. So it occurs in the diastole, but in the late of the diastole. While the V wave and the Y wave is also, Y descent is also occurs in the diastole. So here, the A wave which occurs due to the contractions of the atria and the last phase of that. So atrial contractions occurs in there are four phases of the diastole. One is isovolumetric relaxation phase, other is early filling and late filling, and then atrial kick or atrial contraction. So atrial kick or atrial contraction, which just occurs in the pre-systole, means before the systole start, that is called atrial kick. So this A wave is generated due to the atrial kick or atrial contractions. So raise in JVP. And the C wave transmitted carotid pulse at the onset of the systole. So this is the C wave, the onset of the story start, that is why. And the X descent, now again when it comes again on the C wave, so again come on the V waves. V wave is rise in a right atrial pressure due to the filling against the Killo's tricuspid valve. So the V wave is occurs due to the rise in a right atrium pressure due to the filling against the Killo's tricuspid. So now again comes on the X descent and the Y descent. So X descent occurs due to the generated by the relaxations of the right atrium followed by the descent of the tricuspid valve in a systole. So that is X descent, and the Y descents generated due to the drop on the pressures as the tricuspid valve opens at the start of the diastole. So you see that the start of the diastole and the atria, the right atrium emptying in the right ventricle. So blood move from right atrium to right ventricle. That is why this why descent is generated. So again, when it comes again the pericardial examination. So always remember there are two terminologies most commonly used in a cardiovascular or cardiology department. One is the pericardium, one is the pericardium. So pericardial examination or pericardium. What is the pericardium? I think so you don't know about the pericardium. Pericardium is nothing but it is the area of the heart which is covered by area of the chest, sorry, covered by anteriorly and laterally the area of the chest that covers the heart anteriorly and the laterally is called pericardium. Well, and this is the pericardium. So you know that the pericardium, sorry. So one is the pericardium and other is the pericardium. Pericardium is terminology we use that outer layer. There are three layers of the heart. Is the inner layer that is made up of the endothelium. So endothelial layer that comes in contact with the blood, and the middle layer is the myocardium, which is made up of the muscles, and the outer layer which is made up of the connective tissues. So that is called the pericardium. So here we what we are doing? We doing the examination of the pericardium. So pericardium is nothing, it is the area of the chest that covers anteriorly and inferiorly, anteriorly and laterally towards the heart is called pericardium. So pericardial examination in which we do the inspection, palpations and auscultation. Normally in other examinations we are doing, there are four type of the examinations. So here we escape the percussions. Why we escape the percussions? Because of that the percussion, as we know that the heart is lying down in the left side of the lung, within the lung. So the lung is also having a contain the air, so resonant area. So normally percussions we do for to check the fluids, or otherwise we percuss the viscerals to see the size, other organomegaly is there or in a normal size. So here, so what happens? We having an apex beat. So apex beat when displaced, so enlargement of the heart is there. If the apex beat is not displayed, there is a no enlargement of the heart is. So that is why the percussion here, because there's a diffuse margins of the heart connected related to the lungs. So lungs having in the air. So that is why it is difficult to measure the size of the heart by percussion. So that is why we here escape the percussion. We just do here in the pericardial examination inspection, palpation and auscultation. So in the inspection, you should see the scar marks. In the midline scar, that is sternometer scar, also called the open heart surgery. So mid of the sternum, surgical scar. There is a valvulotomy scar which occurs at the left lower side of the nipple of the left sided. It mostly occurs in the commissurotomy in the previous years, but nowadays this scar is, I think so, this valvulotomy, commissurotomy is taken by the percutaneous procedure that is called the PTMC, that is percutaneous transcatheter mitral commissurotomy. So open or closed commissurotomy, when we do in the previous, in the 80s and the 90s, that is why the patient having in transfers scars, small scars just below the left nipple. So again, the thoracotomy scar is also below the left side or the right side. It again depend upon the which type of the underlying surgery for the injury of the thorax. So you should check the scars. Then you see whether the patient having in a normal shape of the chest or nothing. Normal shape is scaphoid. It means the anterior posterior diameter is less than transverse diameter. So shape of the may be changed in a patient just like in a barrel shape in a patient who has suffer from the COPD. So anterior posterior diameter should be increased than the transverse diameter. So those patients who are having smokers or develop the COPD, hyperinflated lung disease. So and then you see the symmetry. Either the right-sided or the left-sided of the chest are equally, or they are moving equally or nothing, or the pericardium becomes bulged or nothing. So and then deformities. Deformity like a kyphoscoliosis, pectus excarnatum or excavatum means depressed chest or funnel shaped chest like, and then the visible pulsations on the skin of the thorax. And gynecomastia, you should check the gynecomastia, especially in those patients. Gynecomastia means the having in the male, there's an enlargement of the breast on the both sides, even the unilateral. So the side effect of the spironolactone or digoxin also is a gynecomastia. As well as you see the venous engorgement, especially patient who has suffered from the severe vena cava obstructions, having a venous engorgement is there. So then you comes again in the palpations. So on the palpations, you should expect what type of the palpation you do. Superficial palpations to see either the patient having a tenderness or nothing. Then you go for the deep palpation. So before going to deep palpations, you should check the apex beat. So apex beat position and character. What is apex beat? Apex beat is nothing but it is the lowermost and outermost area of the pericardium where definite cardiac impulse is palpable. So that is called apex beat. Normally the apex beat is 9 centimeter or within the imaginary line on the ventricular curve. line that is crossed through the nipple. So just medial to the mid-clavicular line, or 9 centimeter away from the mid-sternal line. So that is the norm. If this displays, then the away from, that is above the 9 centimeter from the mid-sternal line, or just lateral to the mid-clavicular-inguinal line. So here the causes of the absent apex beat or absent impulse, apex beat impulse in a patient who suffer from the underlying pathology like emphysema. So because the overinflated volume of the lung, that is why we cannot feel that. Or obese patient, or patient having the thick chest, or the patient who suffer from the pericardial effusions or the dextrocardia. Dextrocardia means normally left-sided heart is there, but if this heart is displaced congenitally towards the right side of the chest, so that is called dextrocardia. Forceful impulse which occurs in the LVH, there are two: tapping or heaving type. Heaving or forceful. What we call nowadays, not we using the word heaving, but we are using the word forceful. The tapping apex beat means the patient, just like you knock the door, and the other side of the door, your hand feel, but not lift the finger. So that is called tapping apex beat, which occurs mostly in the mitral stenosis and the like. Dyskinetic impulse, in which there is a paradoxical ventricular wall movement, occurs in the system. So here, so in the palpation, first of all, you palpate the apex beat, localizations, and the character of that apex beat, and then you check the palpations of the palpable murmur, that is thrill. You should check the thrill of the patient, or palpable heart sounds. So these most important thing are left peripheral heaves. Left peripheral heave is nothing, or peristernal heave occurs mostly in the patient who having RV dilatations, or right ventricular hypertrophy, or pulmonary hypertension is there, or carpulmonary is there. The peristernal heave, left peristernal heave, or the right ventricular heave is the same thing. And the thrills means the palpable murmur is called. You feel just like in the putting of the gate at the apex during the systole called the systolic thrill, or in the diastole called the diastolic thrill. So again, we comes on the location of the thrill, mostly in the aortic stenosis. They occurs in the secondary of the space on the just on the right of the sternum during the systole, while in the MR mitral patients, the apex beat at the side of the apex during systole. Pulmonary stenosis in the left of the sternum, left side of the sternum at the second space, and the small muscular ventricular septal defect having the fourth space, you can feel the thrill. On the auscultations, you should start the auscultations of the pericardium from the by localizing the apex beat. Just localize the apex beat, then you go for the then go to the left lower border of the sternum, where the tricuspid, while the apex beat is the mitral area, and then slowly, gradually, in a fifth, fourth, third, and second part, second parasternal, left-sided parasternal areas. In the second left parasternal area, you see that is the you can listen the area that is called pulmonary area. So time and pulmonary area, and on the right side, second intercostal space, just to the parasternal on the right side, that is called aortic areas. For the aortic stenosis or the aortic irritations, so you should start from the apex and slowly, gradually go for the lower of the sternum on the left parasternal area, then slowly, gradually above at the second left intercostal, then move right side on the right second space, then move. If you feel the patient having an ejection system at the aortic area of the AS, then to check the radiations, you should go for the radiations to check the bruit on the both carotid sides. The time of the heart sounds and the murmur against the carotid impulse, the pale, low pitch sound, and the diaphragm should be, through the diaphragm you should check or listen the high pitch sounds. And the auscultations we already discussed about, in the apex, you should be the mitral area. So you listen the murmur of the MS or MR and the lower left sternal border, the TR, murmur of TR, ventricular septal defect, or murmur of the even AR. Upper left sternal border, you should listen location for the pulmonary stenosis, aortic atrial septal defect, and patent excess of disease. On the upper right sternal border, you should check the aortic stenosis murmur of the, you can listen the murmur of the aortic stenosis. Under the clavicle radiation of the murmurs and over the carotid radiation, we already discussed about it. And the radiation of the murmurs can occur in the axilla, especially in the patient who suffer from the severe mitral agitations that radiate towards the axilla, the left axilla. Listen to apex with the patient rolled in the left side. So always in the left lateral position. Listen the left lower sternal border with the patient sitting forward in expiration and expiration. Always remember the patient of the left-sided murmur of the left-sided can be accentuated on the expiration. On the murmur of the right-sided can be accentuated. The intensity can be accentuated by inspiration. So, for example, the patient who suffer from the murmur of the who suffer from underlying pathology and systolic murmur of the mitral agitations, means MR. The murmur of MR can be accentuated on expiration, while the murmur of the TR, that strikes the right-sided murmur, so can be accentuated on inspiration. So there is a also, before going to murmurs, you should see the normal sounds, the S1 and S2. So normal, loud and soft splitting of the second heart sound, you should listen A2 and P2. Increase or decrease of inspiration, listen for the added sounds, every timing of the relative S1 and S2. So these murmurs you can listen about that. So again, here go further. Then added sounds, third heart sound, fourth heart sounds, ejection clinics, opening synapse, and mid systolic murmur, and prostate sounds you can listen about. So here we only, because of the shortage of the time, so now we come again on the examinations of the peripheral arteries. So all pulses should be examined. What are they? Look for the bruit indicated the artery stenosis. For example, the patient having in carotid bruit. So means the carotid stenosis, carotid artery stenosis is there. Look for the signs of the atrial insufficiency. That is, always remember the 5 P's. 5 P's means the pain, pallor, pulselessness, paresthesia, paralysis. Pain is the earliest sign or the signs of the acute leg ischemia or acute limb ischemia. So examinations of the peripheral veins, examination of peripheral inflammation or thrombosis of the vein may cause the locations of the discomfort or pain. Manifestation of the venous obstructions depend upon the site, extent, and the adequacy of the collateral vessels. So patient limbs may, you see that the cyanosis and the edema are the signs of the venous obstruction. If the patient will suffer from the venous obstructions, deep vein thrombosis is there, so patient may present with the cyanosis and the edema of the affected limb or culprit limbs. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions regarding to these lectures? Questions? Hello. 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 Are you listening to me?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, beta? Any questions?
Yes, sir. सर ये पूछना था कि जब हम ब्लड प्रेशर चेक करते हैं तो क्या ऐसा है कि मतलब जो डायस्टोलिक ब्लड प्रेशर रेज होता है तो वो ज्यादा डेंजरस होता है एज कम्पेयर टू सिस्टोलिक ब्लड?
देखिए, the diastolic blood pressure and systolic both having drastic consequences. It is not necessarily only the diastolic blood pressure, because the only diastolic pressure, even the systolic blood pressure when increase, that cause the complications like a stroke, and for the time being, that is the acute complication. While in the chronic phase of that, if it's not you are not taking the medications or not reducing the BP, and from the chronically increased, so in the chronical complications may develop like a LVH, left ventricular hypertrophy. Even the patients may develop the retinopathy, and even the aneurysms in the small vessels of the cerebrum, and even the patient may develop the hypertensive retinopathy, hypertensive nephropathy, and even the peripheral vascular disease in the chronic conditions. While in the acutely increase in a diastolic blood pressure, patient may develop the increase LA pressure, left atrial pressure, and that is patient may develop the pulmonary edema. And chronically raised patient of the diastolic blood pressure may resulting in a ischemic heart disease, even the ischemic heart disease, and LVH, left ventricular hypertrophy. Yes.
ओके सर,
सर
थैंक यू।
मैरीज लॉ हमने पढ़ा था, उसमें ये था कि ना मतलब अगर ब्लड प्रेशर रेज होता है तो उससे जो है पल्स रेट जो है वो लो हो जाएगा, इनवर्स रिलेशनशिप है। तो सर वैसे प्रैक्टिकली इस तरह होता तो नहीं है?
देखिए, आप जिस लॉ की बात कर रही है, देखिए ऐसा नहीं है। देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ द थ्योरीज बिहाइंड दैट, जो आप जैसे बात कर रही हैं, वो रेज आईसीपी के साथ आपकी पल्स जो है वो कम हो जाती है, जिसको हम कहते हैं कुशिंग फेनोमेना। क्या कहते हैं? व्हाट वी कॉल दैट इज कुशिंग फेनोमेना। कुशिंग फेनोमेना मींस द पेशेंट हैविंग इन a high raised ICP. So there is ICP is there, blood pressure, due to blood pressure there is ICP, and Cushing phenomena. It means the parasympathetic is more dominant to the sympathetic. So what happens when the patient having in a high blood pressure, when there is a high blood pressure is there, so there is a reflex stimulations of the carotid bodies and aortic bodies, and that causes the parasympathetic activity, increase parasympathetic activity, so suppress the sympathetic activity. That is why the blood pressure, to overcome that down in blood pressure, as well as physiological response, as well decrease in heart rate.
सर मतलब फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म होगा?
जी जी जी।
सर स्लो राइजिंग पल्स एक्सप्लेन करें।
Slow rising pulse, beta, is the pulse which occurs mostly in a patient having in a low stroke volume conditions, like a severe aortic stenosis. In the severe aortic stenosis, there is a stroke volume is decreased. When a stroke volume is decreased, so this pulse is slowly rising, and in other words, we call the plateau pulse. It means slowly and take times and remain for time beings in a plateau phase. So what we call that is called also plateau pulse, also slow rising pulse, pulsus paravis et tardus, also what we call pulsus paravis et tardus. Hello. 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 I'm not listening to you due to connection problems. Hello. 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 I'm not listening to you. Hello. Hello. आवाज कौन participant. Hello.
या सर उनकी जो चैट में रिप्लाई कर।
हेलो हेलो
वो क्वेश्चन मुझे चैट में पूछा करना अगर आवाज हो सकती
हेलो हेलो इनका हमारी दोबारा पार्टिसिपेंट म्यूट द फोन हेलो अनम्यूट
सब अनम्यूट
हेलो sorry, I'm not listening to all of you peoples. We are already described the Ebstein anomaly. Ebstein anomaly is the congenital conditions, that is congenital cyanotic heart disease, in which what happens, there is the attenuations of the right ventricle, and there is a abnormal downward apical side attachment of the septum, and the septal abnormalities occurs, which is commonly associated with the which is commonly associated with the ASD, atrial septal defect, Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, even the anomalies which are associated with the PS, pulmonary stenosis, even VSD. The heaving or the tapping is the type of, there are two type of the heaving. Nowadays we call the forceful, or the tapping is nothing but when we for example knock the door and your finger on the other side of the door, you feel just like that you're knocking, but your finger is not lift up. So that is called the tapping. Mostly this tapping apex beat occurs in the mitral stenosis, while the heaving apex beat which occurs in the aortic regurgitations or mitral regurgitations, or what we call the forceful. Heaving means the apex beat when you lift, keep and feel the apex beat at the localized area of the pericardium, that finger is lift up. So that is called the heaving or the forceful. While the tapping, there is a finger is nothing lift up, but you can feel just like in a other one is knocking the door and your hand just opposite side of the door. I think so. I should manage for the heart sounds and the heart murmurs in the second lectures. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much of all of you. Thank you. Paresthesia, sorry. Paresthesia is the what we call, that is called numbness. Numbness means abnormal sensation. What we call abnormal, just like a feeling of the what we call the numbing means abnormal sensation. Sensation of the limb becomes abnormal, like a burning, like a, just like there's a no when you touch that, you're not feeling that touch, and just like a, what we call that. In other words, we can say, for example, आपका पाँव सो गया है या हाथ सो गया है, so that is one of the type of the numbness, means abnormal sensation. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Question from someone for sack of